Because MJ and his family got to hear this shit right here. And you shouldn't have to do that to MJ to try to build up LeBron.
LeBron James and Kevin Durant believed they were being clever when they joked about Michael Jordan's darkest chapter. They treated it like a punchline, laughing about how his father's murder led him to step away from basketball and try baseball instead. But once Larry Bird caught wind of what was said, the silence he had maintained for years finally broke, and what followed shifted the entire conversation in a way no one expected. This moment became the figurative shot heard across the basketball world. LeBron James and Kevin Durant thought they could casually joke their way through controversy, throwing subtle jabs at Michael Jordan on major platforms. On Mind the Game, with wine glasses in hand and an air of comfort around them, they laughed, rewrote history, and downplayed greatness. Whether they intended it or not, their comments struck directly at the values and sacrifices that defined the NBA players of the 1990s. What they never anticipated, however, was Larry Bird stepping directly into the discussion. Let me paint a picture that will instantly ignite anger in anyone who grew up watching basketball during the 1980s and 1990s. Imagine two of the most decorated players of the modern era, LeBron James and Kevin Durant, sitting inside what looks like a bare, unfinished warehouse. They are relaxed, sipping wine, joking, and openly taking shots at Michael Jordan's legacy. These weren't vague comments or abstract critiques. They were direct, dismissive remarks about a man widely regarded as the greatest basketball player to ever step onto a court. And once those words aired, the basketball world erupted. During a July 2025 episode of their podcast Mind the Game, Kevin Durant made a comment referencing Michael Jordan's 1993 retirement from the NBA to pursue baseball. While discussing longevity in the league, Durant casually remarked something along the lines of, "Some people say, I want to go play baseball." On the surface, that might not sound especially offensive. But context is everything, and the setting made all the difference. Durant delivered that line with a smirk on his face. LeBron James, seated right beside him, immediately laughed. To anyone watching closely, the implication was unmistakable. They were ridiculing Michael Jordan for stepping away from basketball at the peak of his career, right after leading the Chicago Bulls to 3 straight championships. It was framed as if Jordan simply quit when things got hard. But this is where the story shifts from casual disrespect into something far more disturbing. To truly grasp the severity of what they were laughing about, you need to understand why Michael Jordan retired in 1993. That decision was deeply personal and rooted in unimaginable loss. In July of that year, Jordan's father, James Jordan Sr., was brutally murdered during a roadside robbery. This was not a whim. It was not boredom. It was not fear of competition. Michael Jordan was grieving the loss of the man who had guided him, motivated him, and shared his love for baseball since childhood. Playing professional baseball had been his father's dream for him, and stepping away from basketball was Jordan's way of honoring that dream while escaping the emotional and mental weight of constant scrutiny. In 1994, Jordan played minor league baseball for the Birmingham Barons. Then, in 1995, he returned to the NBA and went on to win 3 more championships. He didn't quit basketball. He stepped away to heal, then came back and dominated the league even more decisively than before. So when Kevin Durant sat there holding a wine glass and joked about Jordan wanting to go play baseball, he wasn't simply questioning Jordan's competitive drive. He was minimizing the trauma of a murdered father. He was reducing one of the most painful moments in basketball history to a shallow talking point about modern players and longevity. LeBron James, meanwhile, laughed along as if the implication were harmless. He didn't step in to clarify the truth. He didn't explain what actually happened in 1993. He didn't acknowledge the loss or the context. He simply laughed and allowed Durant's comment to stand unchallenged. No correction. No respect. No empathy for what Michael Jordan endured. If you're a fan of LeBron or Durant, I already know the argument you're forming. You might say it was just light-hearted banter. You might argue people are being overly sensitive. But ask yourself something honestly. Would you laugh if someone joked about the worst moment of your life? Would you smile if someone turned your father's murder into a debating point to boost their own legacy? That clip spread across the internet almost instantly. And the backlash that followed was swift, intense, and entirely justified. Former players began speaking out. Jeff Teague voiced disbelief, saying that if Kobe Bryant were still alive, it's hard to imagine modern players speaking so casually and disrespectfully about legends. He openly criticized Mind the Game, saying the entire premise didn't make sense to him. More former players quickly followed. Kwame Brown, never known for holding back, launched into a blistering rant aimed directly at LeBron and Durant. He labeled their remarks ignorant and highlighted a truth many modern fans conveniently overlook. Michael Jordan completed a three-peat before retiring. He stepped away to honor his father, not to escape competition. And unlike James and Durant, Jordan never ran from adversity by changing teams when situations became difficult. Brown pointed out that Jordan and his family were forced to hear these comments, and that tearing down MJ to elevate LeBron is fundamentally wrong. He questioned how Kevin Durant could claim to be a student of the game, while seemingly ignoring such basic historical context. His frustration echoed what many fans and former players were already feeling. Critics also turned their attention to LeBron's broader media approach. Many believe Mind the Game exists largely to elevate LeBron's legacy and his era by subtly discrediting the 1990s. That era was filled with two-way players who were more offensively skilled than they are often credited for, while also being elite defenders. Playing both ends of the floor demanded immense energy, often at the expense of flashy offensive numbers. This is what many modern fans fail to grasp. The NBA in the 1990s was a nightly battle. Hand-checking was legal. Physical contact was constant. You couldn't drive to the basket without being hit. And the greatest players of that era didn't just survive that environment, they thrived in it. They won championships while dominating offensively and defensively. Yet according to the narrative pushed by LeBron and Durant, those players lacked longevity, didn't work hard enough, and simply gave up. The disrespect reached staggering levels. And just when it seemed like the controversy couldn't escalate any further, something unexpected happened. Larry Bird entered the conversation, sending shockwaves throughout the basketball world. Bird, a Celtics legend and Michael Jordan's contemporary rival, reportedly went off on LeBron and Durant for their comments. And if you understand Larry Bird at all, you know how significant that is. Bird rarely speaks publicly. At 68 years old, he lives a largely private life, working quietly as a consultant for the Indiana Pacers. He has avoided modern NBA drama for decades,